Lady feeding you peanuts versus grapes. Good morning. It's SJU, and we are talking about peanuts and your favorite nuts and our favorite nuts, which are each other, I think, for the most part. I'm Roth. I did that. I made that one. I didn't know where it was going. Dan Murrell is here.
I am here.
I think he's everybody's favorite nut.
Oh, come on.
Oh, come on. You are. You know you're the favorite.
No, I think it's you now that you're out of your shell.
No. Predicting every comment. Top comment. We love Dan. Right. 200 likes. Spencer Gilbert. And then there's the people that are going to come in and be like, Spencer's the secret weapon. And you're right.
The salty cashew,
yeah. He's the salty cashew.
Wait. Before we went on, Spencer was like, the cashew is the Cadillac of nuts. And then he gave
himself the Cadillac of
Okay.
Which nut are you?
Probably like a pine nut or like
something
that people are like, that tastes like soap.
What? Stop it.
Please.
Every comment. We love Joe.
Yeah.
I myself like a Brazil nut, and we all love Disney. We better.
According to the commenters, yes.
We better. Look, Disney does make good movies. We can't deny that. However, it also makes very in the family of their movies. It's the movie by Disney, generally speaking.
Strawberry Pop-Tarts. I'm sticking with it.
So, as we talked about last week, they did a revenue call in which they called out and sort of blamed Fox for their lesser than stellar revenue, which I think is true. Like they did not do all that well, Fox, in the merger, but they didn't include the idea that also revenues were down on the parks. So this might have been a little bit like blame the new kid, find the scapegoat, rather than.
It's a very sassy call.
It was a very sassy call. Yeah.
What I read, I mean, I don't speak corporate, but like the stories that I read was like the quote that they gave was like, I have never heard such a stunning rebuke on a call in my entire. So I guess it's usually they're fairly generic, and this was like a very
Bob Iger being like, New Mutants is a fugly slut.
Basically like
slapping around.
He read the burn book. He read the burn book out loud, like in the middle of the assembly.
I will keep you here till 4.
Yeah, he did, because I think it's true that probably what's being said behind the scenes is even worse than that, because you think about the conditions of a merger just from a human perspective. Let's say we're Disney, because I like being on the winning team, and you're Fox. And at Disney, we know that this merger is happening. Everybody's afraid of losing their job on both sides, probably you guys more than us. But everybody's afraid of losing their jobs, always in Hollywood. Everyone wants to look like the winner and that they saved the day. So when things aren't looking good,
no, we made Darth
the conversation that starts to happen here is probably because we don't know you and we have no affinity to you. We have no attachment. We have no loyalty. So the conversation that starts to happen here is like, look at these knuckleheads. Look at the decisions that they're making. The slate is trash. We're not going to be able to make this work.
It's going to be spooky. Kids love spooky mutants.
Right? Like,
it's got Arya Stark in it.
So over here in Disney, we're just like...
The adults are talking.
The adults are talking. They don't know what they're doing.
They don't know what they're doing.
Yeah.
No idea. The dog movie?
What was that about?
There's like 8 dog movies this year.
Yeah. And this is like the...
Come on.
But he plays football. He's a golden retriever. Receiver, I mean. I promised my wife we'd buy a house.
A studio that can't make an Amanda Seyfried talking dog movie work is not a studio that knows what they're doing, sir. The Disney brand could have made that movie work.
We spotted you a dog and Rocky's son, and you gave us nothing.
Nothing. So that's the conversation that's probably happening.
I interest you in a big budget sci-fi musical based on an original idea I just had.
We will have standards.
It'll cost $400 million.
My office.
Some circles say that Days of Future Past was good.
So everybody's throwing each other under the bus. Disney's made this huge purchase, and they are worried because it does not look like it's going to be as fruitful as they originally planned. So they come in and they say, all right, we're just going to cut $50 million of development, and we're just going to cut it off at the knees and say it wasn't worth anything anyway, and you weren't going to be able to do anything with it anyway. And we are going to impose our standards, and we're going to set this ship right, and we're going to take some stuff that you guys have, some IP, and we're going to put it on our streaming networks. And then what? What happens then to their smaller films? And we talked about this last week, like Fox Searchlight, right? So their indie brand, which is like not that much money for Disney at all, and they might as well just let them do what they're doing. They won an Oscar for the fish sex movie.
Way to get
It was in the script. I didn't say it. You can't blame me.
Eric Goldman said it.
I also wanted to see Dan's face. The Shape of Water, which is a great movie, but does that inure things like more interesting films like the Taika Waititi Hitler Boy Scouts movie, from
It's true. That's a very accurate. For once, that's not hyperbole. That's an accurate description.
They're the Hitler Youth, not the Hitler Boy Scouts.
From I think this is coming out like it's happening, but in the future, would it not happen? Is what I'm saying, because would Disney be afraid that this is going to impact their brand? I was going down a path.
I'm sure it's a wait and see to see if first of all, if the movie causes undue controversy, but if it does, if any of that blows back to Disney, then they'll say it's not worth it. But well, it's Fox Searchlight. They're not putting the mouse in front of it.
It stems from this report in the story that there was an executive at a screening of Jojo Rabbit who apparently audibly was very upset by the film, reportedly, and feared that the movie would alienate Disney fans and fans of the Disney brand.
Yeah, no shit.
That is the line of thinking that I pray does not win the day, because if that's the line of thinking, then we're effed.
Yeah.
As people that might like things that are not. Disney has strawberry Pop-Tarts. They have a brand.
Taika made a baklava.
It's not a risky brand.
No.
As far as like the Disney films, it's not a risky brand. It's a very safe brand, and they've have 5 movies this year that have crossed $1 billion. So they're doing fine with it. That doesn't mean they make bad movies, but Toy Story 4 is not the biggest financial risk in the history of the world. Yeah. The risk is I'm sure there was always going to be an executive that looked at a movie like Jojo Rabbit and was like, oh, I don't know about this, because it's risky. And Universal is dealing with a movie that they made, that they took a risk on, that is really blowing back on them right now. I haven't seen it. I can't say whether that's deserved or not, but that's when you become risk averse. That's when things just start feeling very samey, which is not fun.
But I wouldn't overreact too much to this part of the story, because it's like it seemed like it was
what
more
should we
of
overreact to?
I'll tell you later. Okay. More of like a courtesy heads up, like, this is the movie we made, we're going to screen it for the parent company. Like, they're not involved in the greenlight decisions at Fox Searchlight, as far as we know. Like, it's yet, sure. But someone going, whoa, this isn't for Disney, is like, yeah, that's kind of a duh statement to make while you're watching some other brand's film.
I agree in this case, but my concern is, like, is that, if that executive's manner of thinking is what then becomes applied to everything, where when they are in charge of greenlighting films, that's the mentality they're going, like, we only are going to greenlight films that we think are going to jibe with the brand of our company, and we're not going to. That's where things.
Well, then they might as well just close Fox Searchlight. Like, they might as well not have it if they're going to apply the Disney standard,
which would be sad,
to indie film.
Yeah,
which would be sad, and they may or may not do that. But I think when I was trying,
hope that doesn't happen.
I hope that doesn't happen. I think what I was trying to illustrate with my fake infighting was, I think the danger of any of this is like when you have people that are afraid. And then Fox has made some missteps with some of their larger franchises. Like, that's just a fact. They've made some movies that were not good and were not successful.
Alien, the X-Men franchise, they've shown a ability to run their biggest franchises into the ground.
And that's where Disney actually probably can be successful for them and turn that around. Whether it'll yield the most interesting movies or not is TBD, but they probably will make sense. And probably will have a better shot of success than what's currently being done there. What my concern is, like, then you just throw out the baby with the bathwater. Like you say, they don't know what they're doing, period. Right? And, like, let's throw out everything that they were working on, instead of doing a real audit to see if there was maybe some things in there that were interesting, that could be done at a lower budget, that were worth the risk just creatively. Because if you're just looking at the bottom line, which is understandable, if that's your job, then you're not taking any of that into account. It's possible that Disney misstepped with some of their that Fox misstepped with some of their bigger franchises, but that they still have value in that slate. There are films that have value. That's my only thought on it.
Sure, and those, I think that, like, that's just the reality of theatrical movie making these days is like Disney's philosophy, at least, is to make fewer movies that are big tentpole events, and they spend a lot of time and get a lot of hands and a lot of brains thinking about it and making it as good as they possibly can and doing huge marketing pushes behind the 8 big movies a year they make. And that's just not how other studios operate. They think more like, well, I believe in this director, or, oh, I think that this is a good script and stuff like that. And like, yeah, people will show up if it's a good movie. And that's just not the case. Mm-hmm. So I don't know what to tell you if you're running a business. Like, Bob Iger thinks he's cracked the code and of releasing movies in theaters, and so far the evidence is bearing him out.
Yeah.
So
well, he doesn't think he has, but he thinks Disney
has. Yeah. So I guess like they have plenty of other avenues of all these streaming services and stuff like that where they can release more experimental, more interesting projects, but like people don't go to the movies to just see an interesting looking movie anymore. Not enough of them, at least. They go because they recognize the superhero on the cover.
Yeah, but also the financial, like the amount of money that's being sent to make the movies makes it impossible to recoup unless you have a massive blockbuster, unless you're doing things that are smaller, that have a great, but even if it's going to streaming services, it's not going to go to the Disney streaming service at all, right. Like, because that's supposed to be family safe.
Yeah, the big difference for me, I think, from the way that things used to work and the way that they work now, oftentimes is that, you know, studios used to be a division of a larger company, but they were their own division. So you have somebody like Robert Evans back in the 70s who was, you know, doing Paramount.
Watch the Kid Stays in the Picture.
Yeah, like, you know, he was answerable to a corporate entity, but his interest was in creative. Like, I believe in this movie. I'm going to go to war with the corporate, with, you know, these guys because they're worried about their investment and their money, but I believe in Francis Ford Coppola and The Godfather, so, you know, I am going to invest in this director or in this movie because I believe in it and I think it's going to be a good movie, and then hopefully we'll all make a bunch of money. And if we don't make a bunch of money, well, then that just happens. But it was, you know, the studio heads were, yes, they were still tied to corporations, a lot of them were not. A lot of them were completely independent. They were their own businesses. But I think what you're seeing now is a lot of the executives are the same people that are worried about the bottom line for the corporation. So they're not necessarily investing in movies that they believe in all the time. They're investing in movies that they think are going to make a bunch of money.
Sure. And just the way that movies make money has changed so much. Yeah. I feel like in that era, it made sense to like just make a bunch of bets on a bunch of projects that you thought had promise, and to make a real film slate that you had movies made for kids, movies made for adults, movies made for everybody. Some of them would be hits that would pay for the ones that were flops, and you'd make it all up later on DVD sales. That's gone.
That model's changed.
That's completely gone. You really only can make your money on people going to the theater and your streaming service, and, you know, I guess selling it to cable later.
Well, I think like the real thing is that probably almost all of entertainment is a zero-sum game. Like, people, it's really hard to actually make money. Like, you maybe break even, you know? But, and then there are cases, of course, where there's profits and revenue. But Disney, like, I feel like what people are greenlighting are things that move toys and that move merchandise and, like, that move parks and get you, like,
and that move the next movie you're making, that get you into the next one.
Because
they're all connected.
Yeah, well, but, like, that's probably where, like, that's where the money's actual money. And then for Amazon, for something that's completely different, right? Like, they're just thinking of it in a different way because they're selling toilet paper.
It's an added benefit to getting your TP.
Yeah. So, Joe.
Oh, well, I was going something interesting about you sort of describing that, like, four-corner film slate. You know, I think a challenge there, too, is that audience is morphed into one person. Like, I don't know if this is sad or not, but like the same thing that an 8-year-old kid likes, a 40-year-old is also still like, I strongly identify and love this. Hi, welcome to SJU. So that's banned. Like, that need for like, this is for grown-ups, and then this is for, like, that's gone. Yeah. Because Avengers Endgame is for everyone. So I think that's gone. I think if anything, like you said, DVD sales are gone. You make money on your streaming service. I think at some point we see, maybe they shield it with like the announcement that the Fantastic Fours go, but Fox Searchlight becomes a Hulu add-on or its own part of the Disney streaming bundle. And when you pause Jojo Rabbit, like a Smart Water ad pops up. I think that's where it ends up.
Show the darkest timeline.
Yeah.
I just hope that there's somebody
Welcome to
working.
Oh my God.
I just hope that there's somebody working, and my bigger hope for everyone, but even particularly in this situation, is that there's somebody working at Disney and honestly every studio who's in a position of power and influence, who when somebody pitches a movie, closes the spreadsheet and listens to the person who's talking and watches their work and is in a position to say, like, I understand that this may not sell $5 billion or be a theme park ride. I believe in this filmmaker and I believe in this project. And you know what? Maybe we won't make money, but I think that what we make is going to be worth it. I think that the movie that's going to come out of here is going to add something either artistically or to the discourse beyond just what makes the next sequel go, or can I put it on a T-shirt or on a theme park ride? Like,
But
I just
that's
hope
why you
there's
have-
somebody.
When's the last time Disney made an original movie?
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah,
I'm hoping
but that hasn't been the case with Disney for like.
But Disney's now absorbing another
No, they
major
have.
studio
They
who has made those movies.
In the past, they have. Disney was not the Disney that we know today.
Right,
Even,
90s, they had
even 10
Touchstone
years
and
ago.
all that
Yeah.
stuff. Yeah.
I love
I think-
strawberry
yeah.
Pop-Tarts. Avengers Endgame was the frostiest, most sugary-filled strawberry Pop-Tart I've ever had, and I loved it.
It was delicious,
I ate it up,
quite
and I went
frankly.
back and I popped
Yeah.
2 more in the microwave, and I
good.
ate those again, and I'll probably eat a bunch more. I'll finish that whole effing box, man. But if I have strawberry Pop-Tarts every day for breakfast, after about a month, I'm going to want like an omelet or something. So I hope there's somebody at these studios that wants to make a freaking omelet.
It's not at the studios.
I can't eat
It's gonna
strawberry
be
Pop-Tarts every day.
It's going to be on streaming. That's
Yeah.
Because I think something I was sort of thinking about is I think another reason why studios take chances on something like a Jojo Rabbit is because they want to, yes, believing in the art, and I agree. Super, super important, but I think
Did you just blip, 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 believing in the arts?
I did a little, but I think part of it too is investing in a director. Like, okay, we'll let you make Jojo Rabbit. You are going to fix the X-Men in exchange.
Right.
There's some give and take there.
Quid pro quo.
And
You're going to make another Thor movie.
Yeah.
Yeah, and
you
I
can
think
make your Hitler.
right. Yeah,
Which
but
is-
I
which
think
is fair.
with Disney
Yeah.
though, it becomes less of a we've got to throw some bait out to a director because it's Disney, and I think that relationship has changed as well because Disney's going to go, what, you're not going to direct the Captain America reboot? Okay, I think it becomes more of they still need a feeder system, which I think becomes streaming, like movies straight to Hulu and stuff like that. That becomes their feeder system. Just figure out if you
Yeah.
can direct an Ant-Man.
Well, the problem or the challenge that I see, 3 things. One, what you're talking about is why a division like Fox Searchlight exists.
Yes.
So that this team over here can be like, we're going to make these movies because we think they're good. And this team over here is going to says, we're going to make these movies because it's going to allow you to make those movies. And it's going to give us profit. And this team over here has the X-Men and they have the Predator and all these other franchises. And if they fail, they can't keep doing what they do. So they have to succeed too, and they didn't. So that's one challenge too, is Disney 10 years ago was not this Disney at all. Disney 10 years ago still needed people, still needed press. They were trying to make The Help. They were trying to make John Carter from Mars. They were still, and then what happened was Kevin Feige created a model. That model worked beautifully, and that became, and then there was Pixar, and they were like, let's just keep doing this. Now, my concern is that as all of these studios create their own streaming services, the avenues and the distribution opportunities to have anything interesting go anywhere gets narrowed because where is it going to go?
Well, actually, I disagree with that
You
sort
do?
of because it's like so many these streaming services. They are like these bottomless pits that you can just throw content into and they'll never be satisfied. Like they don't even care what they're putting on there. Netflix will greenlight anything.
No,
It's
but
a rom-com about
I'm
a
not
ham
just-
sandwich. Like, okay.
Hey,
New York is a character. New York is a character.
you know what? The cheese in that movie had an amazing arc.
Yeah.
Remember when
You can't deny that.
Remember when the cheese and the tomato were playing basketball
Yeah,
with the ham?
and they were like talking about how hard it is
She's just not that
to
into you, bro.
communicate with the ham. And then the ham was off with its girlfriend.
Yeah.
getting shoes.
I feel like there's less oversight almost because they just need to fill a quota of new hours per month to keep people satisfied.
Not on the Disney streaming service.
Not on Disney.
That's what I'm saying is like if you look at Fox Searchlight, right? Where would those movies? So if we are saying they can't move in theaters, which a lot of them can, but many of them cannot. And if we're saying that the best option for movies like that is in a streaming service, however, the streaming service is owned by the same corporate entity that does not want to risk their brand, and they have said from the beginning that Disney Plus will be very family friendly and very much on Disney brand, then where does the Fox Searchlight movie go? Hulu? Unless, well, maybe Hulu, or if they're willing to make deals with their streaming nemesis, Netflix, it could go there. But if they're not, then it just goes nowhere.
They could start their own indie streaming service, Disney Plus. It's French.
Disney Plus. Because I do think a smart company recognizes that there is a need for some kind of division whose job isn't just money. It is investing in talent.
Prestige.
It is the prestige division. And I do think that they become like the Mulder in the FBI basement that everyone makes fun of. Like the art kids in the office, and everyone's like, oh, the art kids are doing their thing.
I want to work for the art
They
kids.
Get berets thrown at them every morning when they're trying to go get their coffee. But I do think it's a forward-thinking Disney keeps that, Dan, the what I call the Dan-friendly department.
Yeah, but even beyond that,
we like movies too.
Even beyond that,
Spencer
though,
and I probably watch the weirdest movies of anyone.
I've only ever seen.
You can have a weird off.
Beyond just the Fox Searchlights, though, of the world, like if we were in an alternate reality, which it feels like we are sometimes, many times, every day. If we were in an alternate reality,
Do you just mean here?
I just mean
In this 1 hour?
No, let's project a world where the pipeline that Fox had in development right now included Blade Runner 2049. Mad Max Fury Road,
Yeah.
and Annihilation.
Yeah.
Do you think they would have kept any of those movies?
No.
I do.
Maybe Mad
I think
Max.
they would have probably
His
rewritten,
name.
redeveloped them or reshot them or something. But yeah, because Mad Max and Blade Runner are franchises, so they would have kept those.
But not bankable franchises.
Yeah.
And how do you sell it? And where do you put it? And what's the sequel? And what's the next sequel? And can I put it in a theme park
What's
ride?
the toy?
And nobody remembers Blade Runner. Can you get Harrison Ford? Well, if you can't get Harrison Ford to star in it, then without Ryan Gosling, we just want Harrison Ford and Sean Young. We don't want anyone else. We don't want anything new. Why is it 2.5 hours long? Can you make it 3? Can you make it? What I mean is, like, it's not just the Fox Searchlights of the world. It's like those are all movies that I loved that were not financial. Well, Mad Max
did well.
Mad Max did well, but not like $1 billion.
No. Yeah.
Which I think Disney would probably call a flop. The other two were financial disappointments.
Well, Annihilation went to streaming.
What?
Didn't you mention Annihilation, right?
Annihilation
went to
was
streaming, yeah.
went to streaming internationally. It was released domestically.
Went to live on a farm.
Yeah. Well, the front page of Netflix is a big farm.
But
Netflix just declared a profit loss for the first time.
Yeah. Look, you guys, we're getting
that those are all not Fox Searchlight figures. The movies, those are all not Jojo Rabbit movies that I think a risk-averse studio that was just looking at the bottom line probably or likely would not have greenlit, and we would have lost 3 really, whether you like them or not, 3 really interesting movies. Now I know that those 2 of them are sequels, but they still took bold creative risks, I thought, and all of those were among my favorite movies of those years.
Me too. I love those movies too, and we might just be in a world where it's very difficult and rare unless you just have some crazy rich person that greenlights things.
Yeah.
I'm happy to be that person, once again.
She invented Spider-Man.
I did, all by myself. And so, yeah, I feel like if the thing that we would lose out of that really is Blade Runner because it was so expensive. Like they basically gave Denis Villeneuve like, here's $200 million to fuck around, and he made a beautiful movie. But we probably won't see that because the loss is so severe. It's too steep. But you still probably could get an Annihilation because I don't think that it had a budget that prohibited as long as the division that's making Annihilation has a division that's making money, and Paramount doesn't currently, which we'll talk about in a minute.
Yeah.
Then you can make that work. The broken system that we're getting into, in my mind, is that unless there's a place to distribute the stuff that the interesting people are making, not that the other people aren't interesting, but they are very boring. Then you can't have it. You need somewhere for it to go, which is why if Netflix is losing money, like, hey, Netflix, what are we greenlighting? If they are now losing money, the one place where stuff that could go, then we are in trouble, because where does it go? It just becomes a straight line of like Disney owned, Disney operated, Disney made, Disney distributed, Disney brand, period.
Wow.
I did the Darkest Timeline.
Darkest Timeline. Well, you guys are kind of bearing the lead. Did you guys read through the comments for this the Variety article that this was based off of?
The comments?
Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
God.
Why
Why would you read the comments?
The top comment underneath the article was from Marie for Leo 11.
And it's definitely Bob Iger.
Yeah, I know that we're talking about big business stuff, but the truth could be more strange. She writes, I turn to a vampire anytime I want to. I become a vampire of how people treat me. This world is a wicked world and not fair to anybody. At the snack of my finger, things are made happen. Am now a powerful man, and no one step on me without an apology goes free. I turn to human being also at any time I want to, and am one of the most dreaded men in my country. I become a vampire through the help of my friend who introduced me to Vampire Kingdom by giving me their email. If you want to become a powerful vampire, kindly contact the Vampire Kingdom on their email, worldofvampire@hotmail.com.
I mean, that's viral marketing.
I reached out to worldofvampire@hotmail.com. I will keep you posted.
Keep us posted.
Yes.
Ongoing story. Oh my God. You guys.
The chat wants a New Mutants mention whenever you guys get.
You just proved
New Mutants is canceled.
You just
There's no way that happens.
Well, we did headline around New Mutants. We should probably talk about it.
We'll talk about it. But first, I want to talk about how you just proved something to me. Two things that I've theorized for a long period of time. One, that Tommy Wiseau is Dracula.
Yeah.
That's definitely written by Tommy.
Because that was written by Tommy Wiseau, who is Dracula, confirmed.
Or that could be like one of his thralls. Tommy could be one of the man who introduced me to vampire.
And that we're all going to be fine because Tommy's infiltrating Hollywood, and we're just going to get him greenlighting movies, and they are going to be beautiful. All right, New Mutants.
Yeah, this is not happening.
I hear it's I hear it's not good, and they're not happy with it. And they're like, come on, you're going to do this to the X-Men again?
Yeah, I mean, can we be shocked that someone was like, this isn't good? Because the track record of that franchise in general's not great.
And they kept delaying it even before the Disney merger.
Where's it going to go, Dan?
Well, I was just looking. We're coming up on 2 years since the first trailer came out.
Yeah.
October 13th, 2017 was when the first trailer for New Mutants came out.
I don't remember it.
And I remember it looking really cool and being very excited that they were going to make a new, different X-Men type movie, which is probably why it hasn't come out yet. Yeah, it's so weird. It just has been caught in this maelstrom of like just crazy stuff that no one could ever have seen coming. I still want to see it. Have they done the reshoots? They did reshoots. They didn't do them. I thought. How quickly we forget. Maisie Williams said that they hadn't done the reshoots yet. It's just, I want to see it. I want to see the movie. It's still on the schedule.
They're going to have to
still on the schedule for next year.
At this point, they will have to do the de-aging thing on all of them.
Yeah.
Or they just don't. They just fully Fantastic Four it, and nothing matches, and no one cares.
I think they spin it and do like some kind of. Once the initial launch of Disney Plus wraps and everyone has good and watched Falcon and Winter Soldier, then I think one of the next things they do, like next little like rollouts, is, hey, guess what? The White Whale of X-Men movies is on Disney Plus for the next month. Like,
I don't think they'll do anything to promote it, because that one of the things in this article was like how they just nobody really mentioned Dark Phoenix. Like they didn't put not any marketing, but they drastically scaled back the marketing, and they gave them like an incredibly bare bones premiere.
It'll quietly appear.
Grumpy about.
Eric is messaging saying now that Kinberg was saying they had to do reshoots like while promoting Dark.
Are you watching us?
Doing reshoots. Yeah, apparently Eric's watching.
They were doing reshoots for the New Mutants while they were doing.
No, Kinberg was saying along with the Dark Phoenix stuff that like while they were even like barely promoting Dark Phoenix, they were also like they were doing more reshoots.
Studio mandated reshoots while they were promoting the movie.
Here's the one thing that I want to know, because I think that when we're talking about these things, we really love movies and we love movies that we love, but it's really hard to make anything. And it's really hard to make anything well. It's very, very difficult to make a movie. But then to try and make a movie like a huge franchise film where you have 200 different people weighing in and pulling things in different directions, you need such a steady, and I think this is why Marvel's been successful. You need such a steady, clear hand at the top that's vision is 100%. Like, and I'm not saying they haven't had misses, because they have, but then
Sometimes
they
you forget
learned.
to put the sprinkles on the Pop-Tart.
You do, and they learned and adjusted. But like, if you don't have somebody with a crystal clear vision that can push that vision through, because of either they've earned the cachet financially or otherwise, you're done. Like, that's why we get these movies, because you hire a brand new director, and then you put all of that on this person. There's no way that they can succeed, because they do not have the cachet to force their way through, even if they had a crystal clear direction, which for a first-time director to have that on a movie of that size.
Well, sadly, I'm sorry this is at cross purposes with what we all want, which is more movies, but it's easier to really get consensus and make something good when you're only making 2 movies a year. Like, there's only a couple Marvel movies that come out every year.
Right.
And they can
Or
just
it's
focus
harder,
on that.
because then they Axl Rose Chinese democracy it, because they have a year to...
Star Wars hasn't had a really good track record lately with that
True.
methodology.
Yeah, but an executive at 20th Century Fox, like, they're working on 10, 15 movies at a time.
Yeah. No, exactly. And they're not, but they're also not born of like, I'm saying this guy was somebody who was like, I have this vision, I want to try this thing. And then over time built it to success. And then if you look at, you're coming on and you're like, all right, Spencer, we're hiring you to fix the X-Men. And it's like, come on. And then you're going to try and fix the X-Men. It wasn't your idea. We just hired you to do it, right?
Also, 30 people are going to be overseeing you fixing the X-Men.
And then 30 people are giving you 30 contrasting notes. All of them are your boss. You know, like, it's a recipe for disaster, and you understand why on these big... Oh my God, JT. Why on these big franchise films you have seen these disasters happen, because I think, frankly, especially when you're putting people in, like Colin Trevorrow on Jurassic World, that wasn't a disaster, that was a huge success financially. Dan has other feelings about the creative, which are fair, but when you put these people on a massive film like this, like, you are setting them up to fail.
Look, I don't ask me why, but I recently rewatched 2015's Fantastic Four, and you could see with Josh Trank, he had a vision for his Fantastic Four movie. It was weird. It was a weird-ass vision, but it was very tied to body horror. It was very dark. It was dour. But it was the first half of that movie paints a very stark vision of what his version of Fantastic Four was. And then it was patently obvious that the studio lost complete faith in that vision and said, we have to redo everything. And I can't imagine that the end product that we got was any better than what Josh Trank would have made. They just didn't want that vision. They lost their will, and they said, we've got to go big, and Skybeam and Doctor Doom and
the
blonde wig. We have to reshoot and it was a disaster. It was a disaster financially. It was a disaster creatively. So it's either not allowing creators to come in and have that vision, or you bring them on for their vision, and then when you see it, Lord and Miller. When you see it, you say, that's not the vision that I want.
Or that's not Star Wars.
Or that's not Star Wars or whatever. And instead of continuing to say, like, okay, but we're committed, they cut bait. But that rarely happens. Cutting bait and restarting rarely works out.
Oh, yeah. But and also, if you look at The Predator, which is another one where it's like, why do we think that this is a massive franchise? But why put that pressure on it? And then I still contend that he was so irritated that he just decided to take every single note and apply it.
Yes, I agree.
Because he's a better filmmaker than that. So I contend that movie is a fit. Fuck you.
It was. No, that was shit. When we watched it, I was just like, it's like Shane Black took every single note in the studio
and applied every single one.
Yes.
You want notes? I'll take some notes. You know, because he was like, you're not letting me do what I want to do. I have a clear vision. Either let me do it, or I'm going to take every note. Coffee guy, you got a note.
He ate all the hot dogs.
Note,
as Liz Lemon would say.
Well, it's rough on the filmmakers too, because I don't know what the current status is, but I believe the team that was doing New Mutants was also had The Stand lined up next. They were doing the adaptation of The Stand, and once something like, oh, you were at the helm of the disaster that was the New Mutants. Like, how's that screw up your resume? You know, in what kind of ways? Like, because that wasn't necessarily on you
at all.
But if bombs ended your career, there'd be nobody working.
They end some people's
careers.
I mean, they're white dudes, so they're fine. But
they do. They end some. Where Karen Kusama came out with Ian Flux, and then what?
Yeah.
For years.
Yeah.
For like 10 years.
Right.
She was in Director Jail.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And now she does little
Jail.
interesting films.
Someday, New Mutants will come out and we'll release my set visit.
That's right.
From 5 years ago.
It's come up in the chat. People are like,
That was
2016?
so long ago.
Was it 2016?
Yeah.
Or early 2017?
Yeah, it was.
Yeah, I wasn't as gray.
Yeah.
It was a simpler Joe.
It was a simpler Joe.
Yeah.
Yeah. It looked neat. Based on the things that we were meant to see by Fox's PR team.
Yeah.
It was like a dark ride at Disneyland. Like, you just like,
Oh, there's Maisie
Pretty much.
Williams.
There's Maisie Williams. Oh, was that a
Carson.
Lockheed puppet? Yes, it was. Magic's got a sword,
People
huh?
have been speculating that New Mutants would go to Hulu. I don't think it will ever go to the Disney Plus because I think
literally
they're...
just violated my 3-year-old NDA. So
Yeah, no, we're...
I think it's fine.
Anyway, Hulu. It'll go to Hulu, if anywhere, because it's not going to go to Disney Plus, I don't think, for a number of different reasons. One of which is if it really is like a horror movie and experimental, they're not going to want it there.
It's like stuff like, oh God, here I go. The Snyder Cut doesn't exist.
Well,
God.
And a good
why'd you bring up the Snyder?
Because
we were
because it's
safe.
in our hearts and minds.
Because if a real version of a good
so
thing
well.
doesn't
We were doing
exist,
so well. We were
no, but
sitting here,
here's
we
where
were
I'm going.
safe.
If a good version, because if it is just like
It's just unrendered.
if it's just
Snyder,
Yeah.
it's a Snyder Cut.
A Snyder Cut
exists.
exists.
I don't
It's
know if
just
the
not-
Snyder Cut.
But that's what I'm
exists.
saying, is that the thing that is in everyone's head that's like, just let us see it. It's like, it's not going to be what you want it to be. It's going to be like
Better
half-done
in your head.
Storybirds.
That's what the things were.
Batman.
The parademons were storybirds.
Storybirds! Oh God, Storybirds. But it's the same with New Mutants. Like, if it's bad, like, you don't, if it's gonna be more the Generation X TV movie from the 90s than Logan, like, then just let it live in your heart and in top 10 lists of the craziest movies that never came out for the next
I
foreseeable
like a
future.
beautiful disaster here and there. I do. I like if something's going to be safe and boring or a beautiful disaster, I would rather see a beautiful disaster.
What if it's good?
Title of my memoir.
Exactly.
Yeah.
There's a lot of good movies that studios watch and say like, "Oh, this is gonna do terrible," and they do great
I
because
think-
it's not safe, and so studios hate it.
I think Disney.
I believe them that it's not good.
I think Disney will make more money occasionally dropping a New Mutants message into the media than they will ever releasing New Mutants. I think it just does. People will just say the name Disney over and over again that week if they're like, uh-oh, more reshoots announced on New Mutants. It'll be 2029. And Maisie Williams will be like, yep, they're calling me back to shoot more New Mutants pickups.
Maybe. This is what I think about the Snyder Cut. I don't know if the New Mutants, this is going to work for New Mutants. But
What if the Snyder Cut is New Mutants?
I think it is. Do you remember when you were in high school and you had a really big crush on whoever? Like, that was your person, and you were like, oh my God, and you just had all this wrapped up in who that person was, but you barely know them because they're Jordan Catalano. Then you get to here's the two options.
New Mutants can't read.
Here's the two options that you can. These are your two paths. One, Jordan Catalano stays brilliant. He's like a really smart artist who's like really like thoughtful and all of these things in your mind forever. Or you
becomes
get
the
to know
Joker.
Jordan Catalano and you realize he's dumb as bricks.
Yep.
And
eventually he has
all of your
broken
hopes and
tattooed on his
like you're just like, then he eventually just has broken tattoos on his forehead, and just all of your visions of what that was just crumble in a fiery pit.
He couldn't read, right? Did I make that up? Was there a reveal that Jordan Catalano couldn't read?
I don't think it was that he couldn't read. I think he didn't
Dawson's
choose
Creek?
to.
Nobody watching
That's
this
Party
show
of
knows
Five?
who
Yeah.
Jordan
What is
Catalano is. My so-called life.
My so-called life.
Played by Jared Leto.
Played by Jared Leto. My point is this. Sometimes it's better to leave the fantasy. You can make the story everything you want it to be, and the reality will only lead to disappointment.
right.
I think that's what Joe was trying to tell us.
Yeah, keep it on the MASH page.
Yeah.
And not on the screen.
Yeah. Did you play Matt? Girl.
Hey, let's
Who
dish.
allowed you to be so beautiful?
I have a shack with 2 kids, and I'm married to Shaq.
Spencer saying Dawson's Creek reminded me in my head that
You guys have seen Booksmart.
I can name a ridiculous amount of Dawson's Creek characters still, and I didn't realize that.
Okay.
Go, now.
Dawson Leary,
Okay.
his dad Mitch, Pacey Witter, I think, Jen Lindley, Joey Potter, Jack McPhee, and his sister Andy McPhee, Graham, who was Jen Lindley's grandmother. And I think that mom's name was Joyce, but that's also Buffy, so I could be getting it mixed up.
That was Buffy. Well, maybe.
I think Dawson's mom's name may have also been Joyce, but I'm not sure.
Do we have a Dawson's Creek Buffy crossover in which no Joyces will die today?
Perhaps so. Yeah. I don't know. And I haven't thought about that show in probably 10 years. I don't know why I still remember all that.
Well, that's been your Dawson's Minute.
Sorry, Dawson Leary.
That's been your Teen Angst Minute. I think what we decided about the New Mutants was that it's Jordan Catalano, and leave it alone. I don't know. I'm curious to see it. Maybe it'll go to Hulu.
Who at that period of time would have played Cannonball in a New Mutants movie if it had come out in 1999.
Well, the other thing this article does bring up is Deadpool, which we've talked about before in terms of like, I agree they would be so dumb to do anything to Deadpool that would limit his reach, but I think there's a world in which they PG-13 Deadpool.
Yeah.
I can't imagine.
No.
I can't imagine.
Well, I mean,
Disney-
Deadpool already did that once.
They did,
Like,
yeah.
I just can't imagine a world where Ryan Reynolds walks in and is like, I get the same amount of creative control over Deadpool as I always have, and Disney goes, okay. Like, I can't imagine that world. Again, I'm very cynical and Darkest Timeline, but
I think they do, but they just find some way of giving him like a cameo in an Avengers movie. Like, I don't think that they're ever gonna really be like Deadpool and Captain America. Like, he's gonna live in his own franchise, but he will pop in some hilarious meta way, and they'll bleep him, and it'll go, oh, what the bleep are these bleeps? Like we did in the Honest trailer, and then it will, then they'll move on.
So,
But I think even with his own movies, like they're gonna give, like, remember the guy in Scrooged that's assigned to Bill Murray to like handle him? They're gonna give him that guy.
what?
I don't remember that.
No, I don't remember that in Scrooge.
You remember that?
I don't think that's in Scrooge.
Yeah, no, that's the
think
best
that's-
Christmas movie ever made, and
It
I watch it
is.
once a month.
Oh,
Because it's always Christmas in my heart.
Yeah.
It's always Christmas, opening day of New Mutants in my heart. When we finally
Where we
release the
also
set
release
visit
the
and do
Snyder
the
cut.
honest trailer for Transformers the movie in my heart.
it is the second best Christmas movie. It was eclipsed, I think, 2 years ago by Netflix.
Christmas Prince.
Yes, released
yeah.
the Kurt Russell.
Oh, the Kurt Russell Santa.
Yes,
Zaddy
movie.
Santa Russell.
Zaddy Santa.
I agree with you.
They had
that
called it Zaddy Santa.
he's not going to get creative. So Edward Norton, I believe, why he stopped being the Hulk was he came in and he was like, "I'm so excited, guys. Here's my rewrites."
Yes.
And they were like, "Bye."
Yep.
Forever.
Yep. I think there's a little bit of a bait and switch. Like, to get Ed Norton to sign on, they said you can have creative control, and then they were like, not like this. Not like this.
Yeah.
We thought you could
renegotiate.
like pick his pants.
Yeah.
You guys, you know what we need you to do right now? Joe? Smash that.
Hey, Ryan has been sick.
Best way bell.
Ryan's been sick. He's back on it. He's getting better. He's getting better.
That
He's
was
been
the
sick for a
perfect
couple of days.
SJU. Smash that. What are we? That's us in a nutshell. You guys, thank you so much for watching our recent Fandom Uncovered on Dungeons and Dragons. It means so much to all of us, particularly myself. Thank you. There's a little clip we're going to play for you right now. We're running a little bit behind, but I'm going to do one more story very quickly after this. Play the clip, and thank you so much for watching. Please do watch and share. We appreciate you supporting our original endeavors, yeah, I think that we are the Fox Searchlight of the internet.
Definitely.
Yeah, like we definitely have Buries thrown at us.
Who's Disney?
I am here. I'm going to play a game of D&D with the Heroes of the Veil. Yay!
Here's the veil.
you are all outside of a large stone tower, and then you hear a whoomph up in the sky. How do you react? You are about, I would say, almost a mile up in the air.
Plummeting?
Plummeting.
Still going?
Briv starts to just kind of stride over.
Orkira is a gold dragonborn who has giant wings, so she's gonna unfurl her wings and go flying up into the sky and try to catch you.
Strong suit, right?
That's a 13.
You grab her shoulder and a bit of her hair.
Damn it!
Hold on, wait. Let me get my claws out of your hair.
Hi, my name is Penelope Halfbite. Do you want to be my friend?
I do not trust little people that fall from the sky.
I'm Melindra Granhead. I haven't seen you around there.
I'm Zyla, and I am a gnome, and I have wild magic, but I really like daggers. It's important that you know that I like daggers.
What is the name of your world?
Honey Woods.
That sounds made up.
That was snarky. I feel that was snark right there.
That was like a little.
And your entire forest has been burned down.
I'm now addicted to D&D, and so are you. I heard from Joe. Joe told me that there's a bunch of people that are playing online now, and I'm very excited. Had so much fun making that one. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Now, we had 3 additional stories that we were supposedly going to get through today, but that did not happen because we had lots to say about Disney and that mouse. So I'm going to skip to the one that says, quote, let Roth vent about Dark Crystal trailer before ending. Yay!
Did they get all the flirtins and the bleep bloops?
Yes, and they were beautiful, Spencer. They were wonderful.
Did you guys get a chance to watch it?
I watched it, yes. I did watch the trailer. I would be so excited for this if the Dark Crystal was my thing.
Oh.
It is not. That's cool. I have seen the original. It's not for me. However, if it were for me, I think that I would be incredibly excited by this. Does that make sense?
Yes,
Yeah.
it does.
Yeah.
I think that was very, like, Dan, you'd have a future in politics.
I think that this could still be your thing because as much as I do love the original Dark Crystal, I watched this and was like, oh, I might never go back because like Dark Crystal does have let's call it a very lovely ASMR quality to it that will knock me out after about 20 minutes. It's beautiful and wonderful, and as much as I love it, there's just a nice
I split it up over 3 nights.
Yes, I don't blame you.
It's a little difficult for me.
I don't
It's a
blame
little
you.
difficult for me.
Oh, I love
Spencer.
it. I love it.
It's a beautiful film to look at.
You all suck. You're absolutely, you know what's a beautiful film to look at? Legend. Like on mute. It's gorgeous. It's absolutely stunning. But the Dark Crystal is a beautiful
It's about the
film.
union of
artistry.
artists.
Yes,
We've all heard Roth's Dark Crystal rant.
The craftsmanship behind the film, The Dark Crystal, is wonderful.
It's-
Well, the
it is.
craftsmanship on this is
It's incredible.
I'm so excited about this.
I mean-
This looks so pretty.
I will say that the technological advances are very much present on the screen here. The only thing that's tripping me up about this is that the timeline doesn't make sense to me, truly. Like, I hate to be that person, but I am that person about
Jordan
this.
has questions.
I have so many questions because the reason that I love that movie is just that very simple idea of the split in the crystal, creating these 2 separate beings and that they're better together. And the idea that the Skeksis existed before the split does not make sense to me. That just like betrays the whole, that's the essence of what made that story beautiful. So as excited as I am, I'm hoping they don't betray that. That said, there's like clearly overtures. I always think it's interesting when people are drawn to stories of rebellion and the periods in time that artists are drawn to stories of rebellion. So, no better time to rebel. Throw things. That's it.
That's your rant?
Well said.
Yeah.
It's always nice to see the Gelflings back, particularly at the time, as you mentioned, before the Skeksis and the Mystics had separated into 2 separate races, and I agree that it is the Skeksis and Mystics were established as 2 separate beings that were once one perfect being. I just hope that they bring Fizzgig into the show in an important way.
Well, if they brought Fizzgig into the show, don't tease me, because Fizzgig is the
Was that Fiskig that showed, or was
I
that a
don't
Fiskig
know.
type
I think it
creature?
was like a Fiskig type creature,
okay.
because Fiskig type creature because Fiskig is like a cat dog kind of, and
Right.
so if Fiskig exists in the prequels, then Fiskig lives like 50 years, which is great for me because I mean more Fiskig the better.
And
I
for
think you're
Fiskig.
right,
Yeah.
and for
No,
Fiskig,
absolutely,
you
yeah.
know, for both
Yeah.
of those things. So like, I can only hope that you're right, Dan, and that is Fiskig.
Yes.
Or it makes Fiskig in the original movie very sad, and he's like, "Kill me," because he should not be this old.
Oh.
Darkest timeline.
Darkest timeline. I'm very, very,
Crystal.
very excited about the Dark Crystal and Fiskig. Goodbye. That's what it says in the outro. Goodbye.
You guys remember Thunderbirds?